The longer time goes on, the more you start falling in love with certain draft picks. Maybe it's an undrafted free agent. Maybe it's a sixth rounder. I think we all remember 2 years ago, we immediately fell in love with Malcolm Rodriguez, later known as Rodrigo. And then Hard Knocks comes out. We like him even more. And then he ends up having a really good rookie season. And now he's a rotational player, which, by the way, is a sixth-round pick. Like, that's all you can ask for. But this year, I had a lot of picks that I immediately liked, but there's one. There's one that's sticking out that at first I didn't love. And then I started liking it more and more and more, and I dived deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, don't get me wrong. Any player we were going to pick in the first and second round, I probably knew about him. I knew a ton about him, and I knew what I liked, what I didn't like, because I spent a lot of time really studying the top 50, 75, even 100, top 100 players. But then after that, it's like hit and miss. So when they drafted Giovanni Manu, I knew who he was. There's just not a lot of tape on him. When they drafted Mekhi Wingo, I absolutely knew who he was and watched him wreak havoc at LSU. But there was one player that I didn't know a ton about. I'd watched very little of him, and it was Sione Vaki, the running back / safety / linebacker / special teams man out of Utah. And we traded up to get him, giving up draft capital. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, all right, is this worth it for this guy? And then I go to the tape and I start looking into different things, and I hear Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, and they're like, nah, we're going to let him be a running back. And I'm like, oh. And he's going to play every special team snap. He might even, with the new kick return rules, he might even be a kick returner for us, right? Because they talk about how I've heard a lot of coaches talking about with the new kick return, speed might not be the priority, but rather a guy who can break tackles and consistently, but have enough speed to break out. When I put on the tape and I saw Sione Vaki playing safety at Utah, I saw a guy that was a really good college safety. Like a good college safety. Very good, actually. Borderline great. But I didn't think he had necessarily this. He didn't look fast. Let me just put it that way. He didn't look fast. His hips looked a little stiff. And then I started watching the tape of him at running back. And it was like he was a different person. It looks like he's one of those rare guys who's faster with the ball in his hand. He's more decisive with the ball in his hand. He makes good cuts. He makes good decisions. And all of a sudden, I was like, whoa. And then I started thinking to myself, but we got guys, right? Like we got David Montgomery and, we got Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's like, so why do we need to do this and figure this out? And don't worry, I will get to all of that. I promise you I will get there. But first, I just want to talk about who he was and some of the things that he did. So we know he was a very prolific defender. But on the offensive side, as a junior, right? And he's almost 23. It's like, why is he so old as a junior, right? He's so old as a junior because he had 2 years of a religious mission that he accomplished before he started playing. All right? I think that was honestly really, really impressive. So he's sitting there playing, and he's like, nope, I want to do my responsibilities first in my personal life. And so he's coming in as a more mature player, even if he hasn't played a ton. Look at this. 42 attempts for 317 yards. That is 7.5 yards rushing per attempt. That's insane. He also had 11 catches for 203 yards. He actually played high school football, if I'm not mistaken, with Najee Harris, right, who is a player that is on the Steelers. And Najee Harris and him both got a lot of touches, and Vaki had like 1,000 yards receiving as a running back in high school, something ridiculous like that. This is just me saying what I heard one of the beat writers say, so don't quote me on those stats. He's good. And if he can be our third running back, why do we need a third running back? Well, right now our third running back is Craig Reynolds. When I see Craig Reynolds play, it's like, yeah, he can run, but by the way, the athletic profile of Sione Vaki is better than that of Craig Reynolds. He's faster. He's stronger, right? He has a much better explosion grade. And by the way, this explosion grade is often one of the greatest things that you look at with a running back rather than just straight line speed. He's got enough. Now, this is as a free safety, by the way. As a running back, these numbers are all closer. Instead of in the 4s, they're all in the 6s as a running back. His size is within 5 pounds of prototypical running back size. He can, there's a lot of things he can do. He understands the defensive side of the ball because he's played on the defensive side of the ball. But here's the question. Okay, so we spent a 4th round pick on a 3rd running back. Is that smart? Okay, I do this multiple times throughout the summer because I'm a nerd, but I go back and I watch the entire Lions season. And when I go back and watch the entire Lions season, I remember things every time that I forgot from before. Like, for example, in the second game of the season against the Seattle Seahawks, David Montgomery hurt his quad, I think it was. Quad hamstring, and he was out a few games. And then Craig Reynolds came in and Zonovan Knight. And it was just like, there was this huge drop-off of guys that weren't ready to play that role. We need another running back that can step in and provide something close to David Montgomery because you can't give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs 30 times a game. He's not built for that. Nobody, honestly, is built for that. So you look at that, and then I also like to combine it. With this. All right? David Montgomery, let's just look at his contract. All right? He has a couple more years left on the contract, and this is the potential out right here. All right, the potential out between cap hit and dead cap. Right now, this year's cap hit is $6.7 million. Next year, we pay him $7 million, but only $2.2 million if we don't have him on the roster. So we save $5 million. So if you can spend this year, and I love Monty. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he's fantastic, and I'm not even saying we don't pay him that. But if you're finding a time where you're tight with the budget and Sione Vaki ends up being a running back that could be similar to what you're seeing out of David Montgomery, what a great way to either save $5 million or at the very least realize, like, okay, well, we obviously don't need him, and no matter what, he's going to be done after 2 more years. I know this looked weird because it looked like he had 2 more years down here, but these were both 2025. It's just a misprint on the website. This is on Spotrac, who recently redid theirs. It looks much prettier. But his last year is 2025. So Sione Vaki will still have 2 more years on his rookie contract. So if you don't want to bring David Montgomery back as a 29-year-old running back, this is drafting for the future and getting best available. And through that whole time, he'll be a special teams ace. This is a really good pickup. And I just wanted to talk about a special player that the Detroit Lions got that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet. All right, hope you're enjoying this stuff. We will be here all summer. We love the Lions. We've never shied away from that. You see all the Lions stuff in the background. But also, it is just so much fun to be part of this community. We are so close to 20,000 subs, so we're hoping that you guys continue to latch on here, and we want to be your go-to source for Detroit Lions content. Right now, we're having fun doing this part-time. It's not our job, right? It's just fun to do, and we want to be able to keep doing that. So subscribe, and hopefully, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.